The transport shuttle Meridian shuddered as it docked with Research Station Solaris, and Dr. Kieran Vale pressed his palm against the cool viewport, watching the dying star Kepler 440 to pulse with its final, beautiful breaths. Orange and crimson light painted the station's hull in shifting patterns, a cosmic dance that had captivated him during the 3-week journey from Earth. Dr. Vale, the station commander, a weathered woman named Captain Torres, appeared at his shoulder. Your Allari liaison is waiting in Docking Bay 7. Fair warning, she's different from the others we've worked with. Kieran shouldered his research pack, curiosity already sparking. Different how? Younger, more observant. The Allari Council specifically requested her for your linguistic project. Torres paused. Her name is Vela, and she's never worked with humans before. The docking bay doors hissed open, revealing a figure that made Kieran's breath catch. She stood in the shadows near the far wall, as if the very light might burn her. Vela was petite even by Allari standards, perhaps 5 feet tall, with pale purple skin that seemed to shimmer with an inner luminescence. Dark curls framed her delicate face, contrasting beautifully with her luminous violet eyes that watched him with an intensity that was both unsettling and captivating. Dr. Vale, she said, her voice barely above a whisper, melodic with the characteristic Allari accent that made every word sound like a song. She didn't move from her position, maintaining the customary distance her people required. Please, call me Kieran. He stopped several feet away, respecting the boundary. I'm honored to work with you, Vela. Something flickered across her expression, surprise. Perhaps, at his immediate use of her name and his respectful distance. Most humans, he'd been told, found Allari customs frustrating. You know our ways, she observed, tilting her head slightly. The gesture was utterly alien, yet somehow endearing. I've studied your people for years. Your language, your customs, your beautiful philosophy of connection, without contact. He gestured toward the research quarters. Shall we begin? As they walked through the station's corridors, Kieran noticed how other crew members gave Vela a wide berth, some staring openly at her ethereal appearance. She seemed to fold in on herself, making her small frame even smaller. The staring bothers you, he said gently. Humans look so intently. My people, we observe through other senses. Your eyes are, she paused, searching for words, hungry. I apologize for my species' rudeness. Would it help if I walked ahead? She stopped walking entirely, those violet eyes widening. You would do that, of course. Your comfort is more important than human curiosity. For the first time, Vela's skin flickered with a soft, pale blue light, what Kieran recognized as an Allari expression of surprise or gratitude. She quickly dimmed the luminescence, but not before he caught the beauty of it. I think, she said softly, this partnership will be different than I expected. As they entered the linguistics lab, Kieran felt the weight of her gaze following his every movement. When he turned to ask about her preferences for their workspace arrangement, he found her staring at him with an expression he couldn't quite read, curious, cautious, but with something deeper underneath. What is it? He asked. Nothing, she whispered, but her skin pulsed once with that same pale blue light. I was just thinking that you are not what I was told humans would be like. And as Kieran began setting up their research materials, he found himself thinking the same thing about her. 3 weeks had passed since their first meeting, and the linguistics lab had become their sanctuary. Ancient Allari texts covered every surface, their crystalline tablets catching and refracting the dying star's light into rainbow patterns across the walls. Kieran had learned to read Vela's moods through the subtle shifts in her bioluminescence, pale blue for curiosity, soft gold for contentment, and a deeper purple that appeared when she was deep in thought. This passage, Vela said, pointing to a section of glowing script without touching the tablet, speaks of the Kethmir and the first touch between bonded souls. Kieran leaned closer to examine the text, careful to maintain proper distance. The literal translation seems to be soul awakening, but there's emotional context I'm missing. Among my people, touches, she paused, her skin flickering with that deeper purple, sacred. We are born connected to our families through shared consciousness, but as we mature, we learn to shield our minds. Physical contact breaks down. Those shields completely, so when Allari touch, they share thoughts, emotions, everything. She whispered, her voice carrying a weight of longing that made Kieran's chest tighten. Memories, feelings, even dreams. It is why we touch only once in our lives with the one we choose to bond with forever. As the days wore on, Kieran noticed changes in Vela's behavior. She lingered longer when their work sessions ended, found excuses to remain in the lab when he stayed late. Most notably, her careful distance had shrunk where once she maintained several feet between them. Now she sat close enough that he could see the delicate patterns of light that played beneath her skin. One evening, as they worked alone under the soft glow of the research lamps, Kieran reached for a data pad at the same moment Vela did. Their hands came within inches of each other before both froze. The air between them seemed to crackle with tension. "I'm sorry," Kieran started to pull back, but Vela's sharp intake of breath stopped him. Her skin was glowing, not the subtle flickers he'd grown accustomed to, but a warm, pulsing radiance that bathed the lab in soft light. The luminescence seemed to respond to his proximity, growing brighter as he remained close. "Vela," he asked softly. I cannot control it when you are near," she admitted, her voice barely audible. "This has never happened before. Is it painful?" "No." The single word carried so much emotion, confusion, wonder, something deeper. "It feels like awakening." Kieran's heart raced as he realized what this meant. "Vela, are you saying that?" "I do not know what I am saying," she interrupted, her glow dimming as she pulled back. "My people have strict customs. We do not bond outside our species. We do not. We don't have to define anything," Kieran said gently. "Whatever this is between us, we can take it one day at a time." But even as he spoke the words, he knew they were both past the point of casual friendship. The way she looked at him, the way her entire being seemed to light up in his presence, it was more than scientific. Collaboration. Late that night, Kieran lay in his quarters staring at the ceiling, thinking about the way Vela's skin had glowed. In response to him, according to his research, such displays were involuntary, tied to deep emotional states. If she was glowing around him, meanwhile, in her own quarters, Vela pressed her palms against the cool metal walls, trying to still the restless energy that coursed through her. Every instinct her people had evolved told her to maintain distance, to protect her mental barriers. But every moment spent with Kieran made those barriers feel less like protection and more like a prison. She thought of his gentle respect for her customs, the way he listened when she spoke, how his eyes, those intense human eyes, looked at her not with the hungry curiosity of other humans, but with something infinitely more dangerous. Understanding, acceptance, and beneath it all, a growing warmth that matched her own. For the first time in her life, Vela found herself questioning everything she'd been taught about touch, about bonding, about the rigid boundaries that governed her people. As she drifted towards sleep, one thought echoed in her mind. What would it feel like to touch him? The observation deck of Research Station Solaris offered an unobstructed view of the dying star, its final luminous dance painting the cosmos in shades of amber and rose. Kieran often came here to think, to process the growing complexity of his feelings for Vela. Tonight, he wasn't alone. "I thought I might find you here," came her melodic voice from the entrance. He turned to see Vela silhouetted against the starlight, her pale purple skin catching the cosmic glow. She looked ethereal, otherworldly, yet the nervous flutter of bioluminescence across her shoulders revealed her very mortal emotions. "The star will collapse soon," she said, moving to stand several feet away at the viewing portal. "Within the next few months, perhaps weeks." "Beautiful and tragic," Kieran murmured, though he found himself looking at her rather than the stellar phenomenon. Like so many things worth witnessing. Their eyes met in the reflection of the transparastel, and Vela's skin pulsed with that warm golden light he'd come to associate with her deepest emotions. "Kieran," she said, his name sounding like music in her accented voice. "I have been thinking about our research, about the texts we have translated, the bonding rituals." "Yes." She turned to face him fully, her violet eyes luminous in the starlight. "I have learned something about myself these past weeks, something that frightens and excites me in equal measure." Kieran's pulse quickened, but he remained still, letting her find her words. My people believe that we choose our bonded one through careful consideration, through compatibility of minds and souls. But the ancient texts speak of something else, of recognition, of knowing, without logic or reason, that another being completes some part of yourself you never knew was incomplete. Vela, I have never touched another living being, she continued, her voice growing stronger. Not once in my 27 years, but standing here with you, watching the death of stars. I understand why my people consider touch sacred, because I find myself wanting to share more than words with you, more than proximity. She took a step closer, then another, until less than an arm's length separated them. Her skin was glowing brighter now, patterns of light flowing across her like living artwork. I have chosen you, she whispered, the words carrying the weight of ceremony. If you will accept, you will be my first touch. Kieran's breath caught. Vela, do you understand what you're saying? According to your customs, according to my customs, I am about to break every law my people hold sacred. Her voice was steady now, resolved. And I find that I do not care. Are you certain? Once we do this, there's no going back. The texts say the bond is permanent. I know. She lifted her hand, fingers trembling as they hovered inches from his face. I have known since the first day we met that you were different, that this was different. I have spent weeks fighting it, telling myself it was impossible, forbidden. But I cannot fight what I feel any longer. What do you feel? He asked softly. Complete. She breathed. For the first time in my life, I feel complete. Kieran raised his own hand, mirroring her gesture, their palms almost touching. What happens when we touch? I do not know. The texts speak of shared consciousness, of memories and emotions flowing between bonded souls. It may be overwhelming. Will it hurt you? No, she said with certainty. Whatever happens, it will not hurt. It will be awakening. The dying star pulsed beyond the viewport, as if blessing their moment. Vela's skin was now radiating such brilliant light that the entire observation deck glowed like the inside of a pearl. Together, Kieran asked. Together, their palms met. The moment their skin touched, the universe exploded into sensation. Kieran felt Vela's consciousness crash into his like a warm tide, bringing with it 27 years of carefully contained emotions, memories, dreams. He experienced her childhood on the Allari homeworld, the loneliness of being different even among her own people, her fascination with other species, her secret longing for connection. Through her, he felt the ancient songs of her people, not heard, but experienced, resonating through his bones. He understood the weight of their customs, the beauty of their philosophy of sacred touch, and why breaking it was both terrifying and necessary. In return, she experienced his memories, his dedication to understanding other cultures, his respect for all forms of life, his growing love for her that had begun the moment they met. She felt his human emotions in their raw intensity, so different from Allari restraint, yet beautiful in their honesty. When the initial flood of sensation receded, they found themselves still standing palm to palm, foreheads nearly touching, both glowing with shared light. My God, Kieran whispered, I can feel you, not just your thoughts, but you, your essence. And I you, she breathed. You are warm, so warm inside. Is this what humans call love? Yes, he said, bringing his other hand up to gently cup her face. This is love, and it's what I feel for you. Her eyes filled with tears that sparkled like starlight. Then we are bonded, truly bonded. Whatever comes next, we face it together. As they stood in the glow of the dying star, their minds and hearts connected across the vast differences of species and culture. Both knew that everything had changed. They were no longer simply human and Allari. They were something new, something unique in the galaxy. Something worth the breaking of every rule that had ever existed. In the days following their first touch, Kieran and Vela discovered that their connection had fundamentally altered them both. The telepathic bond allowed them to share not just conscious thoughts, but emotions, dreams, and even physical sensations. When Kieran felt wonder at a breakthrough in their research, Vela experienced it as warmly as if it were her own. When she felt the ancient sadness of her people's isolation, he carried that weight with her. Their work sessions became exercises in intimacy as much as scholarship. They could now communicate through pure thought, translating the ancient texts, with unprecedented accuracy because Vela could share the cultural context directly from her genetic memory, while Kieran could provide human perspective through their mental link. The bonding process isn't complete yet, Vela explained one evening as they sat together in the lab, her small hand resting in his larger one. The casual touch that would once have been unthinkable now felt as natural as breathing. What we share now is the Kethmir and the first touch connection. But there are deeper levels. How much deeper? Kieran asked, stroking his thumb across her knuckles. Each point of contact sent warm pulses of sensation through their shared consciousness. Complete unity, mind, body, and soul. Her skin flickered, with deep purple light desire mixed with uncertainty. The ancient texts call it Velthara Keth, the eternal joining. Once completed, we would be connected across any distance, able to share not just thoughts, but everything. That night, in the privacy of Kieran's expanded quarters, they explored the boundaries of their new connection. Their lovemaking was unlike anything either had imagined possible. When Kieran kissed her, Vela felt not just the physical sensation, but his emotions behind it, his reverence for her, his amazement at her trust, his desire to worship every luminous inch of her skin. As his hands mapped the contours of her body, her bioluminescence responded, creating patterns of light that pulsed in rhythm with their shared heartbeat. She glowed brightest where he touched her, as if his love itself was illuminating her from within. I can feel what you feel, she gasped as he traced the delicate line of her collarbone with his lips. Through their bond, she experienced the touch from his perspective, the silk-soft texture of her skin, the way she trembled beneath his caresses, the intoxicating scent that was uniquely hers. And I feel your wonder, he murmured against her throat, your joy, your... He paused as a wave of pure sensation washed through their connection. God, Vela, is that what pleasure feels like for your people? I do not know, she breathed, her hands exploring the planes of his chest with reverent curiosity. I have nothing to compare it to, but through you, I experience it doubled my own feelings and yours reflected back. Their joining was transcendent, a merging of not just bodies but consciousness itself. As they moved together, their shared pleasure built in impossible spirals, each peak of sensation amplified by the other's experience until they could no longer tell where one ended and the other began. But their paradise was not destined to last undisturbed. The morning after their most intimate connection yet, alarms began sounding throughout the station. Captain Torres's voice crackled over the comm system. All personnel to stations. We have incoming ships. Allari vessels approaching. Vela sat up abruptly, her skin flashing with alarmed silver light. Through their bond, Kieran felt her sudden terror. They have come for me, she whispered. Within hours, a delegation of Allari council members had boarded the station. They were tall, austere figures draped in ceremonial robes, their skin a deeper purple than Vela's and devoid of the warm luminescence he'd grown to love. Their leader, Elder Corvain, regarded Vela with eyes like chips of amethyst ice. Vela of the Seventh Circle, his voice carried the weight of absolute authority. You have violated the most sacred laws of our people. The bond you have formed with this human is an abomination. It is love, Vela replied, standing straighter. Through their connection, Kieran felt her drawing strength from him. And I will not apologize for it. Love, Elder Corvain spat. You have contaminated your bloodline, corrupted your genetic heritage. You will return with us immediately for purification rituals. What kind of purification? Kieran demanded, stepping protectively closer to Vela. The bond will be severed, another elder announced coldly, the contamination purged from her system. She will be restored to proper Allari purity. Through their connection, Kieran felt Vela's horror and his own. The severing process would not just end their relationship. According to the ancient texts, it would leave them both mentally shattered, their consciousness torn apart. There's another way, Vela said suddenly, her voice gaining strength. The Velthara Keth. If we complete the eternal joining, the bond cannot be severed by any external force. Elder Corvain's skin flickered with rage. You would compound your violation with an even greater one? The eternal joining with an alien would make you no longer Allari at all. Then perhaps, Vela said, taking Kieran's hand and letting her love for him blaze through their connection. It is time for me to become something new. The elder's eyes narrowed. You have until the stars collapse to make your choice. Return with us willingly, or we will take you by force and perform the severing whether you consent or not. As the Allari delegation withdrew to their ships to wait, Kieran and Vela found themselves facing an impossible decision: submit to separation and mental destruction, or risk everything on a ritual that would transform them both into something the galaxy had never seen before. Are you certain? Kieran asked as they stood together watching the Allari ships maintaining their vigilant orbit. I have never been more certain of anything, Vela replied, her skin pulsing with determined golden light. Whatever we become it together. The dying star Kepler 440 pulsed with its final breaths, as Kieran and Vela prepared for the Velthara Keth, the eternal joining that would either save their love or destroy them both. According to the ancient texts, the ritual had to be performed during a stellar collapse, when the fabric of spacetime itself was in flux, allowing consciousness to transcend normal physical limitations. They had chosen the station's primary observation deck for the ceremony, the massive transperistal dome, providing an unobstructed view of the cosmic phenomenon that would serve as catalyst for their transformation. Vela had spent days preparing, gathering the few ritual components mentioned in the text's crystalline formations from her homeworld that would focus their mental energies, and bioluminescent oils that would enhance their natural light-producing abilities. The process is irreversible, she reminded him one final time as they prepared. Her skin rippled with nervous patterns of light, beautiful and anxious. Once we begin, we cannot stop. If something goes wrong, then we face it together, Kieran said, cupping her face in his hands. I'd rather risk everything with you than live safely without you. The star's death throes intensified as they began, its outer layers expanding in brilliant, violent beauty. Vela had painted intricate patterns on both their bodies with the luminescent, oil sacred geometries that would help channel their consciousness during the merger. As the stellar radiation washed over them, the patterns began to glow, responding to the cosmic energies. We must join completely, Vela explained, her voice already taking on the ethereal quality that indicated deep ritual trance. Mind, body, and soul, hold nothing back, hide nothing from me. Let me see all of who you are. Their first kiss sparked, with literal electricity, the bioluminescent oils creating currents of light that flowed between them. As their lips met, their mental barriers dissolved completely. Kieran experienced Vela's entire existence, every memory, every dream, every moment of joy and sorrow that had shaped her. In return, she absorbed his human complexity, his passionate intensity, his unwavering devotion to her. As they sank to the cushioned floor, their bodies entwined beneath the light of the collapsing star, the ritual took on a sacred intimacy that transcended mere physical union. When Kieran entered her, they both cried out as their consciousness began to merge at the deepest level. Each movement, each caress, each whispered endearment wove their souls more tightly together. I can feel you changing me, Vela gasped, her skin blazing with patterns of light that matched the stellar explosion above them. Your humanity, it's becoming part of me, and your essence is transforming me, Kieran replied, amazed at the sensations flowing through him. He could feel his perception expanding, his awareness extending beyond the purely physical into realms of consciousness he'd never imagined. We're becoming something new. The star reached critical collapse, and the station shuddered as gravitational waves washed over them. At that moment of cosmic death and rebirth, their union reached its crescendo. Light exploded from both their bodies as the Velthara Keth completed itself, their separate consciousness streams flowing together into something unprecedented, a hybrid awareness that was simultaneously human and Allari, yet greater than either. Alone, when the stellar fireworks finally faded, they lay entwined on the observation deck, both transformed. Vela's skin now held subtle human characteristics, warmer undertones, more varied expressions of light. Kieran's eyes had taken on a violet hue that matched hers, and he could feel new neural pathways in his brain, capable of processing the Allari form of consciousness, the bond. Vela whispered in amazement, I can feel you even when we're not touching. You're part of me, now, permanently. Before Kieran could respond, the observation deck doors burst open. Elder Corvain and his delegation had boarded the station, clearly intending to take Vela by force. But they stopped short at the sight that greeted them. The two lovers glowed with shared radiance, their consciousness so intertwined that even the Allari elders could sense the completeness of their merger. This was not the contamination they had expected. It was something entirely new, a bridge between species that had never before been crossed. "What have you done?" Elder Corvain demanded, but his voice carried rather than anger. "We have chosen love over law," Vela replied, rising gracefully through their bond. She drew on Kieran's human courage while he accessed her Allari wisdom. "We are bonded now beyond your power to separate." "This is unprecedented," another elder whispered. "The texts speak of such joinings only in legend." Then perhaps a new voice said from the doorway, "It is time to acknowledge that legends can become reality." An ancient Allari female entered, so old her skin had taken on an opalescent quality. This was the eldest of eldest, the keeper of their most sacred lore. "Great Mother," Elder Corvain said in shock, "you should not have made this journey." And miswitnessing the birth of a new form of consciousness, she approached Kieran and Vela with keen interest. "Child," she addressed Vela, "show me your bond." Vela and Kieran joined hands, and their combined radiance filled the observation deck. The eldest's eyes widened as she perceived the depth and completeness of their connection. "Remarkable," she breathed. "This is not contamination, it is evolution. You have created something our people have never seen, a true interspecies consciousness." "Bridge, does this mean?" Vela began. "It means," the eldest said with something approaching a smile, "that love has once again proven wiser than law. You will both come to our homeworld not as prisoner and alien, but as honored guests. Our people have much to learn from what you have accomplished." As the station prepared for the journey to the Allari homeworld, Kieran and Vela stood together watching the aftermath of the stellar collapse, a beautiful nebula being born from the star's death, new elements spreading through space to eventually form new worlds, new life. "We're like that star," Vela said softly, her hand in his, their consciousness flowing together like twin streams joining a river. "We died to what we were and became something entirely new, something beautiful," Kieran agreed, feeling their love resonating through every cell of his transformed being. And as their ship departed for the Allari homeworld, two souls bound beyond species, beyond custom, beyond the very stars themselves, they carried with them proof that love truly could transcend any boundary the universe might create.